The great sunscreen debate. Is sunscreen toxic, or is it necessary to protect you from skin cancer? This is a very controversial topic that we will be wading into in detail today with Bethany McDaniel. She is the founder of Primally Pure, a holistic skincare and wellness brand. We will be talking about so much: how she balances running a thriving business with being a present wife and mom, how she interweaves her faith in the work that she does, and how we can look to God's creation as a guidebook for how we can build a life that is truly healthy. We've got all of this and more on today's episode of Relatable. It's brought to you by our friends at Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com, use code Allie for a discount at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Bethany, thanks so much for joining me in person. This is so fun.
I know. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay. We have so much to talk about, but I've been using Primally Pure products for a very long time. I think I started with the, it's like the baby balm or the everything balm, right? What is it called?
It's probably we have both, but
Okay.
You probably started with the baby balm because that's been around for longer. And
Yes.
I think I remember you posting about that a long time ago. That's still one of
use
my
it for
favorite products
everything.
ever. Yeah.
It's amazing. So
It's the
I
best.
started following you then. And then, of course, like your values just shine through in what you do. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because there are so many different facets of your life and how you run your business and your podcast that I think will encourage this audience so much. So let's back up to before we even started talking about Primally Pure. I want to hear about you and your life. Tell me how you grew up, when you became a Christian, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian home. So actually everybody in my family is in the world of Lutheran church work and education.
Really?
And I was kind of the lone black sheep that didn't go into Lutheran church work or Lutheran education.
Okay.
And I got a lot of kind of questions from family members. They weren't really sure what was going on with me. It wasn't that I didn't have the same faith and believe. I always did, and I'm really grateful for that upbringing, but I just didn't feel called to it. And so I was always interested in writing, in communicating, in being an entrepreneur. Even from a young age, I was always peddling things. I was the kid putting flyers on my neighbors' doors for these kid shops that I would put on where I would sell these keychains and cookies and things that I made.
Okay, so an entrepreneur from the start.
For sure.
The writing was on the wall for you.
Yeah, it was. And I would even I was even making skincare products, very toxic skincare products at the time. I was putting mixing Crisco with food dye and putting that in Easter eggs and selling it as lip balm.
Okay.
At my kid shops.
So that is not being sold now through primallypure.com.
It's not. It never will be.
Okay, just checking.
But my parents really did support my interests and my uniqueness within the family. And I'm really grateful for that, because that really gave me the confidence to believe that anything is possible. And yeah, that's kind of how I grew up. I went to college at Concordia University, a private Christian university here in Orange County, and studied communications and creative writing. I thought at that point maybe I wanted to write for a magazine or be a part of a nonprofit. My brother has Down syndrome, and so I always felt really passionate about supporting people with special needs. And I went on to, I did both of those things. I wrote for a few different magazines. I worked for Special Olympics Arizona. And I don't know if we want to get into the whole story right now, but
sure.
Okay,
Let's go for it. I just love it. And I just want to pause and say, I'm listening to you talk. We have so many similarities actually in our story, and I just love that God has allowed our paths to cross. So yes, please keep going.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So I was I had gotten married. My husband and I got married, and his family had started a regenerative livestock farm called Primal Pastures right around the time we got married.
And sorry, what is regenerative livestock?
So regenerative farming is just a way of farming that mimics nature. And so rather than putting animals in a confined animal feeding operation, where they, in the case of chickens, are indoors constantly, crowded together, just really living in their own manure, It's raising animals outside on pasture, rotationally grazing them so that their manure fertilizes the soil. And then oftentimes plants are also raised in that same environment, just as they are in nature, so that the soil is more fertile. And so they started a farm, a livestock farm, raising these animals regeneratively. And that really opened my eyes to a whole new world of wellness and eating and ditching toxins and chemicals, just stuff that I hadn't been exposed to before. And I was really like bought into it right away. It just kind of clicked and made sense for me. And so that was kind of happening, but it wasn't a full-blown business at the time. We were living in Arizona. He was teaching high school. I was working at the Special Olympics. And then the farm was kind of picking up momentum. We eventually moved back to California, where the farm was. And we were all living in one house. We were living, because the farm was at his parents' house at the time.
So you were living with his parents, and y'all were all working on the farm together. And this was what year?
This was, when we moved back, it was like 2013, 2014, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we moved back. The farm was on 2.5 acres at his parents' house, 1,700 square foot house. We were living there.
That's family bonding.
It was intense. His sister and her husband had quit their jobs in Orange County and moved back in with their 1-year-old son. His other sister quit her job in New York and moved back in. So there was,
oh my goodness,
there was a bunch of us living in this tiny house, like going out, doing farm chores. We were processing chickens together in the backyard, like assembly line style, just figuring it out from videos that we had watched on YouTube.
Amazing.
I mean, I was literally like gutting chickens, like taking organs. Like my brother-in-law was always like the one slitting the chickens' throats.
Oh my God.
It sounds really graphic, but I mean, that's like, this is what people used to do, you know? And it's only weird because we're so disconnected from our food now.
Yes.
So it was like, those were never fun days, but I'm grateful for the experience, and it was cool to have that learning.
I'm sure that you learned so much during that time, and you didn't grow up on a farm.
No.
And so this was a completely new experience. Were there moments where you're like, wait, hang on, what am I doing right now?
Yeah, there were. And at the time also, I was starting to make skincare products. So I was like in the kitchen making deodorants, you know, and there was a lot of people living in the house, like a lot of people that needed to cook meals. And like, there was just so many things to navigate throughout that whole process, like tension between the siblings that like me and the other in-laws were like, oh my gosh, this is it's
just
insane.
A lot. But I bet you learned so much. So tell me, living in that house, working on that farm, how did that lead to you making deodorant in the kitchen?
So it actually started back when we were in Arizona, because the farm had kind of already started at that point, and I was really like just into all of this stuff. And deodorant, when I started researching more about the chemicals in our skincare and personal care products, deodorant really stood out to me because of just how toxic conventional deodorant is. I was determined to make a non-toxic replacement that actually worked, because there were a few natural deodorants on the market at the time, but they didn't work. And I feel like natural deodorant just got such a bad rap because the ones that were out there were terrible.
Yeah.
And
no one wants to stink. At the end of the day, if you have to choose between aluminum and smelling good and non-aluminum and smelling terrible, most people are going to choose the toxic option that helps them not sweat. Okay, can we talk specifically about the deodorant? I know we're a little bit jumping around because I want to hear the rest of your story and how Primally Pure started. But this subject, there's actually a lot of debate. I didn't know there was so much debate about aluminum. I thought we all kind of knew aluminum in deodorant form. It's really not good for you. You shouldn't be, putting it on your glands and your lymph nodes and your armpits. But some people say it's such a small amount. It's no big deal. We have aluminum in our food. So obviously you were researching this at the time that you decided to create this effective natural alternative. What did you actually find about the toxicity of antiperspirants in your research?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is that aluminum is toxic. It's a heavy metal, and it's been linked to Alzheimer's disease. And so I think you could say that about any toxin, that, oh, it's in such a small amount in this product or in this food or whatever. But with things that are within our control, like why not eliminate what's in our control? There are so many things that we don't have control over in our modern environment, but our personal care products, our food, things like that, we have a say in. And so I don't think that we should be intentionally adding to our toxic buckets just because it's a small amount, but it's like a small amount applied every single day for people's entire lives to a very absorbent part of the body. And not only is aluminum toxic in and of itself, but it blocks your pores, so it stops us from sweating. Sweat is so important. It's such an important way that our body gets rid of toxins, and when we're inhibiting and blocking that process, we're stopping one of the main ways that our body was meant to detoxify. And we don't want to do that. And so conventional deodorant also has parabens. In one study, parabens were found in 98% of breast cancer tissues that were sampled. So fragrance is another one. I mean, there's just a lot of things in conventional deodorant that we don't want to be applying in such an absorbent part of the body every single day. Mm-hmm. And yes, when people ditch their conventional antiperspirant, they are extra smelly and extra sweaty. And we always tell people just give it like a few weeks, because once your body detoxes, that kind of normalizes, and you will still sweat. You will still sweat with our deodorant, although it does have arrowroot powder that kind of helps to absorb some of that moisture. You'll still sweat at the end of the day, but that's actually a good thing. It's not something that we want to get in the way of. And most people find that the smell completely levels out as well.
And I honestly don't feel like I sweat that much. Like, I know you said sweating is important, and I believe that too, and what I've researched and seen, and it's just kind of like common sense. Obviously, your body is shedding the things that it needs to shed, and it works to cool you down. Sweating also works to cool you down. None of this is a paid advertisement. This is just true. I've been using this for a long time. What I love about it is that it goes on really well and that it smells good, but you're saying that it doesn't use any of the fake stuff. So what's wrong with a fake fragrance? What's wrong with the fragrance that we see in most of our products?
Yeah, the problem with fragrance is that you don't really know what's in it. So fragrance is a blanket term. It's protected by the FDA as a trade secret. Companies do not have to disclose what's in their fragrance, but it can contain thousands of different chemicals. There's thousands of chemicals that are protected under the umbrella term fragrance. And so we don't really know what's in there, but the EWG did a study and they found that it was either 74 or 76% of what's actually in fragrance are hormone disrupting phthalates. And phthalates are what companies use to make fragrances and scents sticky. Like if you've ever been in a house that has a ton of Glade plugins or something, and then you leave that house and you still smell like that, that's because of the phthalates. And these are known hormone disruptors. So we don't really know what fragrance is, and what we do know of it isn't really good.
I know how much y'all love relatable merch and our Share the Arrows merch. It's all made possible by Shopify. Shopify makes selling your merchandise and running your online business really easy. So if you've got a new online business and you're like, I don't even know how to make money on this, I don't know how to set this up, product descriptions, all of that different stuff that goes into it that takes time away from actually creating your product or your project, Shopify makes that really easy. I love using them because I'm not the most tech savvy person out there. And I know that they are going to make it as simple as possible. If you have any questions, their customer service is great. So if you want to spend more time making your stuff, being creative, thinking about how to grow your business, make money from your products, then you just need to streamline everything with Shopify. Go to shopify.com/Allie and you'll get a $1 per month trial using my link. That's shopify.com/Allie. So when we hear hormone disruptor or endocrine disruptor, I'm always wondering what exactly that means. Do we know exactly what hormones they are disrupting and what that looks like in our bodies?
I think when we think about our hormones, it's such a precise signaling mechanism within the body. And so there's so many different hormones, and they act as an orchestra, and they work together synergistically. And I'm not sure like specifically what gets disrupted or how or the exact mechanism, but they can be easily disrupted by these, petroleum derived chemicals. And once one thing gets thrown off, it's like kind of like dominoes.
Yeah.
Like they work together so precisely that when one thing is off, it kind of affects everything.
Yeah. And it makes sense, especially when it comes to deodorant, because you're literally putting it like on your lymph nodes. It's also like your drainage system. Okay. So you started more than 10 years ago making this natural deodorant in your in-laws' kitchen. How did you go from that to a full-blown Primally Pure company?
Yeah, it was somewhat of an accident. I mean, I started making deodorant. Well, initially I started because I was using just coconut oil and baking soda, and that works to prevent odor, but I wanted my husband to do that, and he wasn't into that idea of like smudging stuff on his armpits. So I was like, okay, I want to create a stick form of this, and went through like so many different iterations, like probably close to 200 iterations to finally get a formula that really worked. And once I had it, I just wanted to share it with people. And so I was giving it to friends, giving it to family members, and there was a lot of interest. People were wanting to come back and get more. And I launched it to the Primal Pastures community at the time. I started selling it at farm stands, started selling it on their website, and I was really blown away by the response, and that really fueled me to keep going with it. And I was working on other skincare products at the time as well, and so started offering some of those. And then maybe like 6 months into selling on their website, sales had just grown so much that I separated Primally Pure, kind of made it an official business of its own, got its own website, and then just kind of like hit the ground running from there.
Yeah. And now you have so much and sell so many amazing products, and you're still developing new products all the time. And one of your latest products is SPF, right? Mm-hmm. Do you call it a sunblock or a sunscreen? And
Sunscreen.
Does it matter? Or are they the same?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I think sunscreen is maybe like the official term.
Okay.
It's considered a drug by the FDA.
Okay.
And so they consider them sunscreens, I believe.
Okay, let's talk about SPF, because y'all have billboards that say like, you're going to have to probably tell me the exact wording, but it's like, sun isn't poison, but your sunscreen is.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
But then you are advertising your SPF. So it's not like an anti-SPF advertisement, but it's being treated as that. So talk about the response to it, then we can get into what the product actually is.
Oh my goodness. The response has been so funny to me, because we knew this would stir the pot, and that was the intention with it, was to make a bold statement, get people's attention. You know, there have been so many bold statements for decades from the side of slather sunscreen all over your body every second of every day so that you won't get skin cancer and die, that we knew it was going to take some boldness from the other direction to kind of switch the narrative, which is really our goal. Like sunscreen and sun exposure they're such nuanced topics. It's way more complex than just like wear sunscreen so you don't get skin cancer and die. And so our intention was really to spark conversation around what safe and responsible sun exposure is, the importance of sun exposure itself, and also adopting a more mindful approach of the types of sunscreens that we choose to use. And so that was the intention, but the response has been insane. I mean, there's a lot of misinterpretation of the campaign itself, a lot of anger, like people are saying some crazy things on social media. There was one post that I reposted of a very unhinged woman telling me to go to hell for saying this and for having these billboards.
I saw that. I think you posted that on your Instagram story. Yeah. People have been posting it to their Instagram story, tagging y'all, saying how awful it is. There was this outlet called Beauty Independent. They quoted some doctor who is a dermatologist saying, rather than use this fear-mongering approach of toxic sunscreens in general, why not focus on the positives of your product instead, which you do, because there's one of your signs, and we'll put up all of these pictures, but it's like are SPF, which is Primally Pure, poison-free SPF, and bad SPF. So you're just trying to contrast. You're not saying you should never use sunscreen. You're saying you should make sure that they're good ingredients. And, in trying to protect yourself against skin cancer, don't put things on your body that are also causing cancer. Like, it just seems kind of logical to me.
Yeah. I think for the people that it resonates with, like, it hits home, and it definitely repels a lot of people as well. And we knew that going into it, and that's okay. But just looking at the statement itself, like, the sun isn't poison, but your sunscreen is. Like, how have we gotten to a point where that is such a controversial thing to say? Like, we have demonized the sun and demonized creation so much. And I would argue, like, I know I've been accused of fear-mongering, but I would argue that people have fear-mongered the sun for so long. And we're just trying to, like, bring some perspective to this whole thing.
Yeah. What is your perspective on sun exposure and the need for SPF? Because there are some people, and I've heard them referred to in like a joking and like pejorative ways, like the sun worshipers, who think that you should have uninhibited exposure to the sun at all times, that sunburns can't hurt you, that sunscreen is the only thing causing skin cancer. I'm not in that camp. I hate getting sunburns. I do use SPF that isn't full of the toxic chemicals, but I also agree that the sun is important. It's important for life. It's important for vitality. It has so many health benefits. So what do you think about those two perspectives?
Yeah, I think meeting somewhere in the middle is the most common sense thing for me. And so understanding that the sun has benefits, it gives us vitamin D, it helps with our moods. Like, we all feel it. When we're outside in the sun, we feel better. It regulates our circadian rhythms so that we're more awake during the day and that our bodies are ready to sleep when the sun falls at night. So I think there's so much to living in tune with the sun. I think that's how we were designed to live. But I also think there are risks to uninhibited sun exposure. I mean, sunburns are not fun. I don't think that anyone should be going outside and trying to burn or not being aware of their bodies and their skin's threshold for burning. And I think that we need to first, like, understand our skin, and it's different for everyone. Different people need different amounts of sunlight, but going outside at the right times of day, not being outside for too long, covering up with protective clothing when needed, which is actually an even better option than using SPF. And then using sunscreen too, for those times and those long stretches in the sun where maybe covering up isn't an option or finding shade isn't an option. So I think it's just about having like a full perspective of the whole thing and using common sense.
So we should be looking for SPF with zinc oxide, right? Is there a particular percentage that we should be looking for? Because I've seen like zinc oxide 20%, and I'm like, well, what's the rest of it? What's the 80%? And so it's a little confusing.
Yeah, so 25% zinc oxide is actually the maximum amount that the FDA allows for in sunscreens, and that's what ours has.
Okay.
And then the rest of it is, I mean, we use tallow, we use coconut oil, ingredients like that to fill the rest of the formula that just kind of nourish and balance the skin. Because if you just slathered, zinc oxide is a powder, if you just slathered it on your skin, it wouldn't stick to you.
Okay.
It would just kind of fall off.
Yeah.
But yeah, we use non-nano zinc oxide, and so it protects the skin with a physical barrier. The non-nano is referring to the particle size of the zinc. So there's non-nano, and then there's micronized zinc. Micronized zinc absorbs into the skin. Non-nano has a larger particle size that sits on the surface of the skin, acting kind of like protective clothing almost. And obviously it doesn't last forever. You have to reapply it. But in my opinion, zinc oxide is the safest option for sun protection. There are a lot of chemical filters out there, but the FDA now does not recognize any of them as being safe. The EPA also just came out with a study and found that only 25% of sunscreens on the market are both safe and effective. So these chemical filters, there's a lot of issues with them. They absorb and then they are in the bloodstream at much higher limits than is considered safe. A lot of them are known to be hormone disrupting and carcinogenic or cancer causing. Mm-hmm. They actually create a chemical reaction in the skin when the sun hits it to protect, well, quote, protect, rather than providing that like safe
layer.
tried and true physical barrier.
Right. And I just don't understand why that is dubbed a conspiracy theory or why that's controversial at all. For those of us who are saying, okay, yeah, we should protect ourselves from the sun in a way that makes sense. But there are good ways to do that. And then there are these really harmful ways to do that. I've seen a lot of people say that that's fear mongering. That's a conspiracy theory. I really don't understand that, especially for people who say that they trust science. They love science.
Yes.
Well, this is science.
Yes, I know. The fear mongering thing really gets me because I'm like, this is just sharing information. Like if it makes you feel afraid, maybe like figure out why and dig into it yourself. But just to say that any type of information that contradicts what you believe is fear mongering is like such a lazy argument.
Yeah. Let's talk about beef tallow because this is also apparently controversial. I did not know that. I love beef tallow, as I said from the beginning, for lots of things, not just for skincare products, but to, fry your potatoes, all different kinds of things it's great for. But I saw someone say just the other day on Instagram, it was like, I don't even know what they said. They were like, beef tallow is like death cream. You're like using the death of cows or something on your face. I don't even know. But you were a part of a regenerative farm and you understand the benefits that livestock bring us in a variety of ways. How did you discover the benefits of beef tallow? Why do y'all use it in so many of your products?
Yeah, it's been wild to see how much of a trending ingredient tallow has become because when I started Primally Pure, I knew about tallow because of my family's farm. And it was a really interesting ingredient to me. And the more I researched it, the more it just resonated and made sense to me. I mean, this is something that people have used for generations and generations to nourish and protect the skin. It's really biocompatible with our own skin and the sebum that our skin makes. Tallow actually means sebum in Latin. And it's full of essential fatty acids. It's so nourishing and amazing. It's the main ingredient in the baby balm that you mentioned. And a lot of our customers, especially those with like eczema or psoriasis, find that our products with tallow are the only thing that nourishes their skin well and doesn't cause it to react.
Zero irritation. Like I'll just say, again, not an advertisement, but I use it to take my eye makeup off. And it's so gentle that you can literally not that I would recommend this, but rub it in your eyes and you can. Zero. And I've used it as diaper cream. It really has never caused any irritation. And I'm a little sensitive actually.
Yeah. So. Yeah, same. And in the beginning, I remember thinking man, I don't know if people are ready for this. I don't know if people will get this. Yeah. So I don't know if I should use it, but I did. And I'm so glad I did now. And we actually did a billboard campaign last summer that had a picture of this really cool painting picture of a cow. And then they said, beef fat on your face makes you hotter. Yeah. And that got some controversy, especially from the animal activist groups. PETA had some nasty posts about us, but the sunscreen stuff has been wild, way more controversial.
Way more. Yeah, my goodness. Quick pause to remind you to sign up for Share the Arrows. Go to sharethearrows.com and get your tickets today. It's October 11th outside of Dallas, Texas. This year's Share the Arrows is brought to you by our friends at Every Life. Y'all, I am so excited. We are getting so close. If you haven't bit the bullet and gotten your ticket, you got to get it today because seats are going to run out. We've already got thousands of you signed up. It is such a powerful, edifying day. There's not another Christian conference like this. It is also the biggest conservative women's conference in existence. And this is only our second year. It's not primarily about politics. It's mostly about theology and apologetics and how to apply our Christian worldview to the rest of life, including politics. But you will find that there are so many conservative Christian women there who are ready to link arms with you. You will love it. Go to sharethearrows.com. I want to know a little bit about you personally and how there's so many questions that I have when it comes to being a business owner who is also a mom of 3. I get questions all the time about how do you do what you do and, be present for your kids and all of that. And you've talked about that before. So tell us, how you do that. How do you navigate being a present mom and also having this thriving business that demands so much of your time?
Yeah, I mean, not perfectly. I'll say that right away. Like hasn't been a perfect journey. I really started having kids like soon after I started the company. And so I've really been growing Primally Pure and raising my 3 kids kind of all in unison. And in the beginning, I mean, it was tough, like early on, because I was still doing so much within the company. But when I became pregnant with our oldest daughter, and after I had her, it really forced me to delegate things and hand off the things that other people could take on, whereas previously my perspective was like, I'm the only one that can do these things. And I don't know how long I would have held on to that if I wasn't forced to let go. And so looking back, motherhood has sharpened me as an entrepreneur so much because it's forced me to trust others and to only show up in the areas where I can be most effective within my company, and then kind of let other people do the things that better fit their strengths. And it also forces me to be as effective as I can with my time, because if I'm going to spend time away from my kids, like I want to make the most of that and be really effective with that time and not kind of like, I don't know, be lazy or just not like do the best that I can with it. And so I feel like it's sharpened me in business and in all areas of life really, and taught me a lot about time management. And it's really fun too to include my kids in what I do. I was just telling you before we started recording that I brought my oldest daughter with me to record a podcast episode in Kauai with Bethany Hamilton, and she actually just wrote a book. I kind of helped her like publish this book that she wrote about catching lizards.
Your daughter just wrote a book.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that is awesome.
Which was super fun. She just has this mindset of like, anything is possible. And so she gets ideas and she just like goes all in on it.
I love that. She's like you.
Yeah. So that it's been cool to like see that in her and just to see her excitement for Primally Pure. And my kids like help me test products, and they're always excited when our formulator sends like new products to try. So it's cool the older they get, just being able to pull them into it.
Yeah. Y'all also go on some pretty extensive trips. Like we were just talking about the road trip that you did all across America. That sounds like it's one of the ways that you invest a lot of concentrated time in your family.
For sure. Yes. My husband's really good about this, like taking us out of our current environment and giving us new experiences and new memories to make as a family. And so, yeah, for the last 2 summers, we've done, like 6-7 week road trips across the U.S., and it's actually been super fun. We have a Sprinter van, which makes it more enjoyable.
That is awesome.
And we're doing things a lot when we're home. Like, my husband has a lot going on, and with the farm, not anymore as much, but used to. And we just have a lot of like family activities with extended family, a lot of events, and just a lot. And so summertime is kind of a time where we can slow down and just invest in making memories together as a family.
And does your husband work with you full time? Or does he have his own thing?
So he has his own thing. He was with Primal Pastures, and then him and my brother-in-law Paul branched off and started Pasture Bird, which is a company that just does chicken. Primal Pastures does direct to consumer, all types of livestock. And then Pasture Bird is just chicken, and they're sold in grocery stores. They're in Sprouts, in not quite all 50 states yet, but they're in a lot of like stores throughout the US, and they were purchased by Purdue Chicken. And so my husband was the VP of operations for pastured poultry at Purdue for 5 years, and then recently left that position. And this next season of life is going to be a little bit different and interesting because he's going to start coaching basketball at Concordia, where we both went to college, and where he played basketball. So
are y'all moving?
We're not moving.
Okay.
We're figuring out how we're going to navigate that.
Yes. Every season brings something new, especially when you're kind of entrepreneurial. Yeah. But it's also how y'all are able to like have so many adventures as a family too.
Yeah, I really appreciate the flexibility with where Primally Pure is at now. I have such an amazing team under me, and I'm able to kind of like pick and choose the areas of the company that I want to be involved in and organize my work in such a way to where if I need like long stretches of time mostly off with my family, I'm able to do that. And so it's at a good point now.
How many employees do you have?
I believe 126.
Okay.
126.
Yes. And are you CEO?
No.
You're not CEO?
I'm not CEO anymore. So I was CEO for many years, and then my husband's best friend that he played basketball with came on as kind of a consultant because I needed some help.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, we were co-CEOs because he just started to get really into it and passionate about it and was really like thriving in what he was doing within the company. So we were co-CEOs for a while. And then I think it was when I was pregnant with my third, I asked him if he would be the CEO so I could step into more of a founder role. And so that's where I'm at now.
Okay. And what advice would you give any business owner, but maybe especially like a female business owner, when it comes to running a company, managing people, even though you're not the CEO anymore? Obviously, you have a lot of experience with that. I think like the interpersonal relationships of hiring and firing and giving feedback and all of that, to me, is like the most difficult part because they're people and, you know, balancing wanting the company to do well and therefore all of your employees to perform well and like giving grace and understanding. So just talk about that, what you learned leading a company.
Yeah, the people stuff is the hardest.
It is.
100%. I mean, and it's the thing that keeps you up at night, at least for me. Like, how is this person feeling after that conversation? Or just like, what can I say to help them, you know, put this in perspective or whatever it is. It's so hard. And I love my team, and now it's so fun like working with them, but not actually being the one to manage anyone, because managing people, I mean, I think some people are naturally more gifted at it than others, but it's hard when you're actually doing tactical stuff and creative stuff to kind of like switch your brain into these different gears of like, okay, now I need to put my people managing hat on, and now I need to put my like doer hat on, or now I need to be creative. It's really tricky. And I think that recognizing, like if you're at one, recognizing that if you're ever in a point to, you know, let someone else take some of those pieces on, that it's okay. I find that even with employees that I've had, people are reluctant to kind of give up responsibilities. I know I was too when I started the company, but it can be so freeing to acknowledge, like, this isn't my strong suit. I'm going to hire someone under me to help manage these people more effectively that maybe is like more gifted at it than I am. And so acknowledging that, I think, is huge. And then just in general with running a company, growing a company, I try to look at it in terms of like just doing it for the glory of God and not for myself. And I've found so much freedom in that perspective. There's a book called When Striving Cease by Ruth Chow Simmons. And she talks a lot about this dichotomy between striving and stewarding. And when we can operate from a place of like stewarding what God has given us rather than like just striving for success or for, you know, personal growth or whatever, it's just, there's so much more freedom in that. And I've found that it's just so much more fun and really takes the pressure off when I can operate from that place.
That's a really good perspective. Can you talk a little bit more about how your faith is intertwined in what you do as a business owner?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the story of how Primally Pure started, where it is today, like I look back and I'm like, that was not my doing. Like I worked hard and did my best with what I was entrusted with, but I just see God's fingerprints like all over that. And so again, it's like I have to keep that in mind if I want it to be fun and enjoyable, and just like every day think about it from the place of doing my best with what God has trusted me with and honoring him and operating in a way that is biblical and responsible as a human being. And then when I make mistakes, it's like, if I'm making mistakes out of like my best intentions, there's not that like guilt and shame that comes with it, rather than if I make a mistake and I'm like, oh yeah, that was like, I wasn't operating from a good place.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know how people do it like without faith. I feel like just taking all that pressure on yourself on a day-to-day basis can be so overwhelming and stressful. And I've been there before where I have like tried to like push through and just do it out of my own strength. But I think it's just like a constant renewing of the mind and remembering like who's really in control, who really has allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
And put the pieces in place.
Just trusting in the sovereignty of God just gives so much peace. I remember when I was in college and I was going through finals and I was really disappointed because I didn't get a grade on a final that I wanted. And I had a friend at the time and her name was Grace, which is very fitting. And she said, "Do you really think God's plan is going to be derailed because of this grade?" And it really shifted my perspective. And she probably has no idea that that one text had an effect on me. And I think about it, or at least the principle behind it, all the time. And you can really apply it to anything. Not that our actions don't matter, not that we shouldn't care if a mistake is made. And certainly we should care if we sin and all of that. But when you think about all of these little things, because it's so easy to get stressed out, especially when you're running a business or have a brand or a podcast or whatever, you get down into the nitty gritty and you just want everything to be perfect. You're switching hats, as you said. But when you zoom out and you think, okay, gosh, like, is this going to matter a year from now? Is this really going to affect something that happens 5 years from now? Is this going to really affect the things that truly matter and last in the long run? And so often, and I'm talking to myself because I am like relearning this every day. So often the answer is no. And that doesn't mean the details don't matter and that little things don't matter, because they all add up and they do. But just trusting in the sovereignty of God, that He has written out all of our days before any of them came to be. And one thing going wrong can't derail Him. Totally. It's not going to thwart His will. And like that just gives a lot of peace. And as you said, if you don't have faith in that and you think everything truly rides on you being perfect, that is a ton of pressure.
It's exhausting. Yeah. In the beginning, like, I didn't understand what it is to be an entrepreneur. And to be an entrepreneur is to face new, different challenges, like, on a very regular basis. And I just thought, like, okay, every time something bad was happening or every time we faced a problem or an issue, I'm just like, I would like mourn it. Like, why is this happening? This is so hard.
I get that.
And like now, I mean, very quickly I realized that wasn't a sustainable mindset. And like, the challenges are inevitable, especially when you're like doing something that is new and different. But having the perspective of like, what can I learn from this? There's always something to learn, whether it's you who made the mistake or whether it was something that just happened that was outside of your control. There's always something to learn and there's always growth in it.
Y'all know how much I love Adele Natural Cosmetics. I have been using it for years. Their moisturizing foundation is amazing. I had never used a moisturizer in a stick form, and I was afraid it just wouldn't give me the coverage that I need. But when I'm not in the studio, it is my go-to. It's the perfect amount of coverage. And especially if you're getting to the age like I am of like having fine lines, you don't want that powdery look that kind of like settles in your creases. You want something that's going to make you glow, that's going to make you look happy and healthy. And their moisturizing foundation, their blush, their bronzing stick, it all works exactly like that. I use their skincare every day. I use their moisturizing essential cleanser. I absolutely love it. I will never go back to that like sudsy chemical fake fragrance stuff because I love Adele. Go to AdeleNaturalCosmetics.com. Use code Allie for 25% off your first time purchase. AdeleNaturalCosmetics.com, code Allie. Continuing on the like your personal life, I want to know what it looks like for you personally, health-wise. Like, I know that you've talked about biohacking and the things that you do and have done in your own health journey, because you had your own health journey and you lost weight, you cut down on inflammation and all of that. And obviously that's something that you've maintained. So like, what are some staples in your life that you do to not only make sure that you're spiritually healthy, but also physically healthy?
Yeah. So I think you mentioned biohacking, and biohacking can be controversial.
Yeah, I don't even know really what it means. So
it just means like optimizing your own biology to the best of your ability. I don't think it's that controversial. Do some people take it too far? Of course. But at a basic level, we are up against so much in our modern world. We are in this environment where we are exposed to so many unnatural things that are not normal for our biology or how people have lived for thousands of years. And so it just makes sense to me that we need to do a little bit more to support our bodies in this day and age. And so I think, biohacking aside for a second, at a foundational level, the things that I kind of don't skip out on are eating well. And for me, that means I prioritize animal protein at every meal. I just feel best when I am getting enough protein. And then like healthy fats, healthy carbs as well. I eat all of that. I eat kind of a paleo style diet. So meats, fruits, vegetables, some nuts and seeds, potatoes, white rice is not necessarily paleo, but I eat it. And then I also do raw dairy. And so that's kind of how I eat.
Only do raw dairy, like only raw cheese and raw milk?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. That's been kind of a newer thing in the last maybe year that we've all started doing, and we're fans. We love it.
I was told that I would like raw milk because I don't like regular milk. Haven't my entire life, even as a baby, never ever liked it. And I tried raw milk, and there's something about no. I mean, my husband likes it.
Never been a dairy
He really
fan.
likes milk. One of my kids loves milk, but oh my gosh, I don't think I'm lactose intolerant, but milk tastes sour to me and always has.
Interesting.
But I like other kinds of dairy.
Yeah.
So maybe I can biohack with some raw ice cream or something.
There's like raw milk yogurt that we do a lot of. My kids love it. It has like maple syrup in it. It's really good.
Yeah. Is that ice cream for bears? Because
No.
there's
Well, not the one that I'm talking about.
Okay, there's like this I don't know if that's raw milk or not. I don't know if that's raw dairy. Okay, it's not. Everyone's shaking their head.
Okay.
But it's healthier. It has like healthy
Is it like an
ingredients in
A2
it.
milk maybe?
Nope, it's not A2 even.
Okay.
It just has honey in it. It's like honey and
Got it.
I don't
Honey
know.
is the
I think
sweetener.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the raw dairy, the animal protein. Do you avoid sugar, like processed sugar altogether? Do you ever have like cheats or treats?
Yeah, I pretty much avoid refined sugar. So we do a lot of like honey, maple syrup. Not that I won't ever have it. I mean, like we were just in Hawaii, and one of our favorite shaved ice places in Hawaii uses organic cane sugar and like fresh fruits and vegetables for their toppings. So I'll eat that, as a treat. I wouldn't go to the shaved ice stand that has like red 40 and high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't give that to my kids. Like we were even in a situation in Hawaii where all of the family that we were with was having them, and I just chose the one that didn't have dyes, and it wasn't as fun, but I don't really care. I don't really care that they're missing out on food dyes in those situations. So
okay, let me interject and ask a question about that, because I bet a lot of parents are wondering, how do you have those conversations with your kids? I mean, maybe they just know by now, but when you're like, no, you can't have that cupcake, or I know your friend is having that, but you can't, because we've already, with our oldest in preschool, well, so-and-so has this in their lunch, but now she's always asking, does that have bad ingredients? Does that have bad ingredients?
Bad ingredients. That's so funny. My kids say the same thing.
Yes. Okay. So how have you taught them about that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like very honest with them. I kind of just explain like exactly why we don't eat these foods, and I'll even talk about like the problems that they can be linked to, like behavioral problems.
Yeah.
And these conversations are just like very normal in our household. And so now when they do ask for things, like sometimes they do push back a little bit, but they know, like the boundaries are clear. I think it's a really slippery slope when you kind of deviate from those boundaries, because then they know that there's like a chance they could get it, and the next time like they'll push more. Like we've experienced that with certain things that we were a little bit wishy-washy on for a little while.
Yeah.
Like French fries was one that for a while we would like, when we would go out, they could have French fries, and then we kind of put the kibosh on that even. So it's harder when you kind of like deviate from the rules because they want to know what to expect.
I know.
And
that is hard.
Yeah. And so, but I think like I want my kids to be okay with making different choices from other people, not just in what they eat, but in all aspects of life.
True.
And it's something that they're going to have to face throughout their lives. with diet, with lifestyle, with, moral stuff. Like, I want them to be really comfortable not doing what everyone else is doing. And so even if it makes them a little bit sad in the moment, I'm kind of okay with that. And then I also, I'm not totally stringent and fully, I bring treats for them when I know there's going to be treats. So I'm not no, you can't have anything.
Yeah.
There's always other options.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. In addition to the other healthy things that you eat, do you do sauna? Do you do red light therapy? Do you do cold plunging, grounding, circadian rhythm maximizing, all of that?
Yeah. I do all of that stuff. And it hasn't been an immediate thing, I overhauled my lifestyle and just implemented all these things at once. I've been on this journey for 12 years now. And so naturally, I've just added things as I've gone, and I really see it as kind of a fun thing. And every time I don't add something if I'm in a stressful season and it feels too much. There's seasons where I just keep things as they are, and then when I'm ready to tackle something new, I do. But sauna was one of the first health investments that we made, and it's still my favorite. If you want to call it a biohack. Yeah, it's the best.
Do you have one in your house?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, and it's just so beneficial for sweating out toxins. There was a study out of, I believe, Finland, where they studied people that had done the sauna. I mean, almost everyone does the sauna in those countries.
Yes.
But they took groups of people, they followed them for 20 years, people that did the sauna once a week, people that did the sauna 4 to 7 times a week, and people that did the sauna 6 or 7 times a week. And with each group with more sauna use, there was an exponential increase in life expectancy.
Oh. Wow.
And it just makes sense. It's we're exposed to so many toxins. We need to do something extra to help our body get rid of those toxins. The stats about health in America right now are terrible. I don't want to end up as one of those statistics.
Yeah.
I don't want my husband, my kids to fall into any of those categories. And if you don't want to, you have to live differently. You can't just do what everyone else is doing and expect a different result.
Yeah.
And so that's where I see these biohacks fitting in, just to kind of make up for what our modern lifestyle is lacking in terms of quality of life and health. And you mentioned circadian rhythm. That's another really important one. I think artificial light is going to be huge in the coming years. I mean, it already is, but even more so to the same level of food. So much of our body's functions are governed by signaling that light gives us. And God just created it so perfectly with the sun and the moon and light and darkness. And we have really messed that up with all the artificial lights that we're exposed to from screens, from lights in our home. And so to me, it's it just makes sense to wear red light glasses at night. Why would you not?
Last sponsor for the day is Preborn. Preborn resources pregnancy centers across the country to make sure they have the equipment, the tools they need to serve pregnant moms in need to help them make a life-affirming decision. For example, they provide these sonogram machines, and the women who walk into these clinics can get a free sonogram that confirms their pregnancy to see how far along they are. A lot of them just left the Planned Parenthood, who didn't give them a sonogram and told them, no, you just have a clump of cells. All you have to do is take this pill. But sometimes women, they just want a second opinion and they want to know what's true. And so they walk into these centers, they get the sonogram, they see their baby on the sonogram screen. So often they see the moving arms and legs, they hear the beating heart, and they make the life-affirming decision. That is why Preborn exists, to make sure that pregnancy centers, that pro-life organizations have all the tools they need to help women save their babies. Go to preborn.com, be a part of their story, be a part of saving lives. You can donate today using my link. That's preborn.com/Allie, preborn.com/Allie. Someone's listening to this and they're like, all right, I'm on level 0. I haven't done any of this, but I want to start. What would you say is the best first place to start when it comes to just taking charge of your health? And like you said, trying to, as much as we can, avoid being one of those negative statistics.
Yeah, I think food is huge. I would start with just the simple basics of eating well, prioritizing protein to satiate your body so you're not then overeating on carbs or other things just to fill up. Protein fills you up and it gives you energy. And so prioritizing healthy, if you can, like well-raised animal-based protein at every meal, I think is huge. Getting out first thing in the morning and exposing yourself to natural sunlight. I mean, that is going to set your body up for success throughout the whole day. It's going to turn on your awakening hormones so that by the time it's nighttime, your body's natural sleep hormones will kick in like they should, and you'll get a better night's sleep. Sleep is obviously so important. So I think, I know I mentioned sauna and other things, and that's huge. Like, I recommend doing that if you can invest in that. But even if you can't, there are so many basic things that we can do to support our bodies. Grounding is another one. It's free. It's legitimate. There are scans showing inflammation pre and post grounding, and there is a significant difference. And so and this stuff like may sound weird to some, but to me, it's not weird to think that like God would give us the tools for healing within creation. And so like, why not maximize those, especially since they're available to us, they're free.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm like, well, it kind of just goes back. If you just read like the first couple chapters of Genesis, you see the basics of what we need. We need to know our Creator. We need to be within community relationship with one another. You got Adam and Eve. You've got their relationship with God the Father, who is in eternal communion with himself. And then you've got a relationship with nature, which is supposed to be one of us working together. We need purposeful work. We see that in the command to work the ground and work the garden and to keep it. We need the light and darkness. He made us to need sleep. He even modeled rest for us when he didn't need to, and resting on the seventh day. And so everything you're saying that people call a conspiracy theory, it's really just kind of like creation order and going back to what we see in the Garden of Eden and taking advantage of like the gift of common grace that God has given us through his creation.
100%. Yeah, I know. I always get so dumbfounded when people say this stuff is weird or extreme. I'm like, this isn't weird. Like the way that most people live is weird.
Yeah.
Like
especially
all the
when you
things
look at history.
All the things that we've done to our modern environment is weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Bethany, people can find your products at primallypure.com, right? Mm-hmm. Easy enough. Tell people about your podcast and where they can find that.
Yeah, we have a podcast called Grounded Wellness. We record it outside on our regenerative farm. It's a lot of fun, and that's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube.
Okay, YouTube as well. Yeah, you need to watch it in addition to listening to it because it just looks so beautiful and perfect for what the brand is. So thank you so much for just following God's calling on your life and being a very unique and effective voice in this space, in addition to just making really good products. It just like really matters to be able to find a company that you feel good about supporting, but also that has products that are really effective. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Allie. I appreciate your support so much.
Thank you.
And I've been listening to you for a long time now and really love your perspective and everything that you're putting out there into the world. So
well,
thank you.
Stephanie. Appreciate it.